Welcome to Tea Time with Sue. In this episode, University President Sue Thomas welcomes Curran Prendergast, Director of Bands and Associate Professor of Music. Currently in his 9th year at Truman, Curran guides all aspects of the band and graduate instrumental conducting programs. He conducts Wind Symphony 1 and 2 and directs the Statemen Marching Band. Outside of his work at Truman, Curran talked about his ability to make homemade bagels, as well as his newfound enthusiasm for the sport of pickleball and what it's like to coach youth soccer. Let's jump into the conversation.
All right, so I am thrilled to do another Tea Time with Sue, this time with Dr. Curran Prendergast, who is Director of Marching Statesmen, an appropriate title?
Yes, one of my titles.
One of your titles?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, so I will start with that because, I love the Statesmen, and they have had a fabulous season this year. So that's one of your titles.
Yeah.
Why don't you give me all the rest of that?
Sure. Yeah, my official title, Director of Bands, Associate Professor of Music. So that means that I direct all of our band ensembles. So that includes, of course, the Statemen Marching Band, very visible, probably the most visible ensemble under my direction. But that also includes Wind Symphony 1, Wind Symphony 2, concert band, and pep band for basketball season, which is coming up really soon. And then I also teach courses in music education and conducting in our graduate music conducting program.
So what's the difference between conducting all of those different groups? Because my guess is there's probably a difference between them.
There is that's a good question. So for the Statemen Marching Band, it's a lot more about show design and really supporting the culture of athletics, that sort of, that collegiate atmosphere that we really like, that through the support of your office and others really helps make that be a part of Truman's campus, and at the football games, our quad performances, things like that. So it's a lot maybe more administrative, you might say. So it's making sure that all the students know where to go and what to play and how we can support the university in all of those ways. So I don't do much conducting, arm waving, as it were, with that group. Although I do conduct the anthem, and that is traditionally, the director of band's role to conduct the anthem at football games, which I do. And then with Wind Symphony, it's really selecting repertoire and rehearsing and conducting on a real artistic level. So kind of really different sorts of demands of me and my musicianship and my teaching, and so I actually really appreciate the diversity in what I get to do on a daily basis. It's exciting.
Is one harder than the other, or are they just different?
Just different. And I think it's actually, if I don't mind saying, kind of a special, unique combination of skills to be able to really do well with both of them, and I feel like I do. With marching band, it's a lot of, as we talk about in the course, marching band techniques, how to teach others to teach marching band. There's a lot of like coaching sort of personality traits that you have to summon from yourself, really motivate and bring the group together and find that sort of that vision and make it happen on the field during the marching season. And then for like Wind Symphony, we are, I'm asked really to bring as much musicianship and artistry at a different sort of, in a different way through conducting and through all of the nuance of that art within itself. Yeah.
So the Marching Statesmen have this amazing camaraderie with each other and have a blast.
Yes.
Has that always been the case? Is that part of what contributes to their ability to play well and to do their shows? Yeah,
I think, we enjoy a really decades-long tradition of that ensemble through its different names. It used to be the Gamblers,
which is a great
Showboat Gamblers, the Marching 100. 60 years ago, we were called that. And so I think through all of the different iterations of this ensemble, what we have is that sort of tradition to the university and that sort of special feeling you have on campus here. Even if we've been here 10 years or even just your first time on campus, I think you sort of feel that. And I think that sort of contributes to that atmosphere that we have in the ensemble through like our tradition within the group, but also just the atmosphere of being here and being a part of that really special group of people.
So I have one tradition I want to ask you about.
Okay.
Shenandoah. I have talked to band alums who tell me they actually tear up when they hear Shenandoah.
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, and that came, the words, the lyrics to Shenandoah include the Missouri River, right? And so we're close. Right. We're in Missouri. So, I mean, there's loose connections there. And I think it was also something that was sort of to offset, a traditional collegiate fight song like we have a Scotland the Brave and our Victory March, very upbeat and very sort of, rah-rah kind of tunes. Well, it's really nice to have something that is a little more sentimental. And so we started this in the early 80s, and it has been tradition since late 70s, early 80s in that time period under my predecessor, Pete. So, and it's stuck. It's been a really nice balance to, the sort of peppier school songs, and then it has sort of our adoptive, sort of lyrical, almost alma mater-like quality in that way. Yeah.
Well, it is super powerful when they all line up and play really loudly and march forward.
It's great, isn't it?
I get it.
Yeah, the high step. We do the high step. It's the only time we ever do the traditional marching high step. So yeah, it's a special moment.
What is it about conducting? Why do you like conducting?
Oh, that's a great question. It's something that has, since I discovered that it was something I could do for a living, is something I wanted to do. The way that on the podium, with the sort of intimate nature of music making with the students and musicians in front of you, that it really has such a nuance and detail that you can bring a phrase high and low, you can bring an impact moment, and the feeling that you create with those players is different from conductor to conductor. And so it's a really powerful, almost the mystery, I call it kind of like the mysteries of music making. When we are up there and we're sort of communicating our desires for the music through nonverbal communication, we are a conduit for the spirit of the music. So we pick pieces that have lots of potential in different ways, from happy, sad, to the full range of nuanced emotion. And so what we can do is really bring that to life and then provide experiences for students. And it's just my favorite thing to do.
So is that why you got a lot of nominations to be on this show? Do you think that's part of the connection, right?
I think it has
to all
to be,
those nominations?
Well, and I'm appreciative of that very, very much. It's through the students that I get a chance to actually have that musical experience. And so it's a real honor to have that sort of back and forth, that two-way street, that I give them my all, and then they in turn, through their sound and playing and their efforts and their great, commitment to what we do, equally sort of, that feedback loop sort of in a way is circular. So we all sort of grow together in that way.
Very cool. Yeah. Okay, so before I leave music, I hear you do some music outside of Truman too.
Yeah.
Tell.
I do. Yeah, I like to have a little performance of my own on the side, as you say. It's a group called the Lucky Seven Quartet, and we do jazz and blues and funk, and we play around town and at certain bars, wineries, kinds of things, and just fun, just a way to sort of different outlet for me. I play guitar in that group, and so I have a long history of playing guitar, and trombone is my other band instrument. So, but it's just a lot of fun to get out and play in a 4-piece group and just provide that experience for people too. So
where'd the name come from?
Well, it's kind of a Vegas lounge act-esque thing. So there is, there's some old Frank Sinatra tunes, the old Rat Pack type of thing. Dean Martin, those types of tunes are in there. So we sort of transport you to a Vegas lounge after you've lost all your money, and you can just drown your sorrows with us.
So you play with a cigarette hanging out the side of your mouth?
Wouldn't that be funny? Yeah, get a little prop next time and just make that happen.
Okay, so clearly music is huge for you, right? And huge part of your world. Tell me about bagels.
Well, I do. I have a passion for baking and cooking, and bagels are a special food group in and of themselves. And it's one of those things that I've tried to try different recipes, and I really have one that I like that I use to make everything bagels. It's just a special treat, and if I can, on the side, I'll make some homemade smoked salmon and have a little bit of cream cheese smoked. I'll make you some. How about that? I think I owe you some bagels now.
All right, everybody heard that,
That's
right? Everybody heard that. So why bagels? What got you started with that?
Well, my wife Jocelyn, she loves bagels, and so I wanted to try and make them special, as close to New York bagels as you can get, because they're unique there. And living here is just kind of a little hobby that kind of happened. So
have you been to New York?
I have, yeah. And so we tried bagels there. I was like, okay, I'm going to try and get this flavor and this sort of part of the texture and everything.
And you did it.
Yeah, it's close.
It's close.
It's my own little unique sort of take on it.
So how long does it take to make a bagel?
Well, it takes a little while. You gotta, the process has different parts with the yeast, and then you let that sort of, it's like a poolish that happens in flour and water, and then you let it sort of naturally develop. So, a couple of days, really, all told, after you let it sort of rise in the fridge, and then you shape them and let them rise again, and you boil them and bake them, and
So you make a whole lot at a time, I would imagine,
well,
after all that.
You try, right? Yeah, usually it's 8 or 10 at a time, and that takes 5 cups of flour in and of itself. So it's sort of.
Do your kids like them?
They do. They love them.
Yeah.
They call them Daddy Bagels.
Daddy Bagels.
Yeah, that's what they call them.
Do you let them help, or is this just Daddy's thing?
It's sort of my therapeutic time in the kitchen where I can sort of have control over all the ingredients. And
So you said you smoke salmon. Mm-hmm. Are you big into smoking? Do you smoke other kinds of foods?
Ribs and salmon are my big things, and ribs also take a couple of days to do it right. Actually, same with the salmon. You got to let it sort of marinate and then rest, and all the temperature things, come to room temperature, and I have a smoker out in the backyard.
And so do you have a special one?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how special it is, but it works for me. It's an electric, and I can read the temperatures right and just get the
and
nice.
It does what it's supposed to.
It does what it's supposed to do, right? Exactly. In fact, it's a holiday treat for us. So now that we're in Thanksgiving, Christmas season, we'll definitely time to make one. You don't want to it's not special if you have it every day or every week.
I
so
get that.
It's the season for smoked salmon, I think.
Okay, so musician, baker, food smoker.
Yeah.
Sports also play a little bit of a role, people might be surprised to know.
Yeah.
So, pickleball, soccer.
Yep. I do.
Share.
I do. I am a sports fan. I playing sports growing up, baseball and football and things like that. And then, of course, in high school, I really sort of focused on music. But kind of coming into adulthood, I just started really loving soccer, and so now I coach little kids in Kirksville area, and I really like that. In fact, what I tell my friends who are surprised also to hear that I coach, I tell them, teaching at Truman, I get to enjoy the fruits of lots of investment from teachers in these students. Parts of their lives with their music making through when these students were in elementary, high school, and coming up to college. It's really nice to give back to these students who are at the beginning stages of their soccer careers. And so working with students at both ends of the sort of academic spectrum, if you will, is really nice. I love teaching little kids or coaching, teaching, same kind of thing. And so that part of it's really rewarding to just develop those relationships and just have fun through the sport and through the game and stay fit and active ourselves, right? That's where pickleball also comes in. It's, it's also like a fast-growing sport, and there's a lot of faculty on campus that play. So we have a regular game. You should join us. Will you come play with us, Sue? We could bring the cameras out.
I know nothing about pickleball. I don't even know what it is.
You're a good learner. Well, it's sort of like in between tennis and ping pong. There's your race. So there's still movement. You still get your heart rate up and everything, but it's not quite as big as tennis in terms of the court. Right, you play it on sort of a half of a basketball size sort of court, and over here at the rec center.
What kind of racket?
Yeah, they're called paddles, and they're about kind of like a racquetball sort of size paddle.
Okay.
And then there's sort of little wiffle ball type balls that you just hit over the net, and the key is to stay out of the kitchen, which is the area right next to the net. So that's a phrase that they say a lot.
Because don't you want to be in the kitchen?
That's just one of those rules, the nuance of the game, that if everybody could just stand at the net, because the net is only about 3 feet off the ground, then everybody could just.
So I can hit over it.
Exactly right. Yes.
Okay.
It's a perfect game for all heights. So you're welcome into the into the pickleball community. You should come join us.
So do you guys play for fun? Do you have competitive teams?
Right now, well, the other day, Mike Rudy and I were playing yesterday, and we learned about the intramurals that's going to happen for pickleball after Thanksgiving break. So maybe we'll join that little intramural competition. So, but otherwise, it's mostly just for fun, and we switch up teams, and we have lots of laughing. It's as much community and social as it is physical. So it's a really nice benefit in all those ways. We actually just did a fundraiser for our NAFME group, which is the Music Education Collegiate Club, if you will, sort of like pre-service club.
Okay.
And so we did a fundraiser tournament right before Halloween, and we had 16 or 18 teams come out. It was a lot of fun, lots of people playing, and people from the community came and played.
Oh, cool.
So that was a tournament style aspect, but it was still very fun, and people having a good time and laughing. And
how big are the teams?
usually you play in twos. So
pairs.
Just two on each side, sort of like doubles tennis. It looks a lot like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but just a smaller court, so it's easier to kind of get around and that kind of thing.
So do you have to wear tennis whites?
Well,
cool
you know what?
shoes?
You can wear whatever you want. You know, we can. there's no fashion requirement yet. Although who knows? With the rate the sport is growing, there might be soon.
So where do you play in town?
There's a couple places. We play at the rec center here,
Sure.
here, which is a really nice facility. We're fortunate to have that space there. And then there's a couple of parks that have like outdoor, using the tennis on the tennis court. It's sort of like you just squeeze in sort of like about 2/3 of the tennis court, and then they tape the lines, and then you can play on that. So, but I hear there's talk of actually building some pickleball specific courts in town. So we'll really hope that happens.
So how did you find out about this and get into it?
I was just over working out at the rec center, and I saw a couple of faculty friends over there playing. I said, "Oh, what are y'all doing?" And they said, "Oh, we're playing this game. You should come join us." I said, "Sure, I'm game." And then I stepped in and loved it. And my kids play, and Jocelyn, my wife, plays, and so it's.
So that explains why I don't know about it. I've been in the rec center once, and that's when I toured when I came to interview.
Okay.
And they only let me right inside the door because I did not have a change of shoes.
That's
so
right.
that explains
Got to
why
bring
I
your
know
shoes.
nothing
I know.
about
Yep, have that gym
pickleball.
bag. That's right. Well, that's now my mission to make sure. If you get bagels, then you got to play pickleball. There should be a kind of exchange here, maybe. How about that?
Okay,
All
you're
right.
gonna have to make me think about that.
We have to
Are
work
the
off the
bagels
bagels.
that much worth it? Is it
Oh, they
that
are.
much worth it? Oh, okay, I hear that. So tell me a little bit. So how old are the kids that you coach soccer?
Well, I teach coach two different age ranges, but the ones I spend the most time with are U8, we call that. So in soccer, they do U8 or U under a certain age level, and that means that they're within 2 years of that age. So 6 through 8 year olds, and so they're just the real little ones, and they're just out there having fun, smiling, wanting to run around, and just. It's such a pure, just enjoyment of life and everything that's just great to be around that spirit. And so just kind of teaching them the love of the game and just how to interact with each other through the sport is really good. And then I also work with some middle school age students too. Yeah.
I remember when my kids were that age, do they still call it herdball? But they all
Well,
kind of run after the ball? Or are you pretty
yes,
good at
I think yes, that absolutely is what happens sometimes, and we still call it that. We try to not do that. I mean, we're trying to teach them to spread out a little bit, and sometimes it happens.
You're a really good coach.
By the end of the season, you hope they spread out, and then they pass the ball, and then it happens, and then it's winter.
And then it's done.
Right, exactly.
So you've been at Truman 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's the coolest thing for you being here?
I think there's a lot of answers that come immediately to mind, but I still think it's just the students. I mean, it's just really special students, and the opportunities we get for me, make music together is still special. I still have just as much or even more just passion and drive for it for every day for rehearsal and our concerts, and just creating those experiences together is just really, really special here. Yeah.
So you do a lot of cool things. You have a lot of cool opportunities. Is there something on your bucket list? Is there something you want to do here or outside of here that's the next fun kind of cool thing?
I would actually like to take the band to Europe. I think we should do a Europe trip or something like that. Would be really great to take, the Wind Symphony or Statesmen or both, or something just to kind of show off what we do to a different kind of community. And so that was, I think we had plans kind of going, then COVID sort of hit and sort of derailed all of that. So I think maybe on my bucket list, definitely, is getting back to that and make a plan, and let's see if we can get that experience for the students.
You can sell bagels and have a pickleball tournament.
I like it. There you go.
Fund
So
them
start some
right
fundraising.
there.
Good.
Okay, so on that super cool note, right, and we'll see how we can support you to get them to Europe.
Okay.
Maybe the next thing on your bucket list is to be able to pull something out of the teapot.
Oh, boy.
And see what it says.
Okay.
So welcome to my world.
Oh, boy.
And reach right on in and pull something out. There are a lot of them, so pick a good one.
Okay. Oh, boy. All right.
All right, what you get?
What is my fortune? We'll see. If you could go back in history and spend a day with one famous person, who would it be? That's a really good question.
Decisions.
I know, decisions. If I go musical or not musical, because there's so many interesting people. I would say maybe go back in time to a composer like Bach. I know that's a little cliche, but I think it would be interesting to get into his mind and figure out what he was thinking through his development of music, because he's the reason we have our sort of musical language now. And that time period of music is really interesting and evolutionary, and I think that would be very, very, very interesting to have a little one-on-one tea time with Bach, my own, come up with.
So do you have theories about what he was thinking about, what was going on at that time? Was he brilliant, a genius?
Definitely brilliant, definitely genius. I think that music is a lot more dissonant than we often think of it. In terms of compared to sort of modern music that has a lot more crunch to it. But that music in and of itself had a lot of sort of emotions and sort of a lot of feels to it, as they would say now, that I think would be interesting to see if those were the intentions. It's hard to know through history what those intentions were.
And as a conductor, you can just try to make it come through, right?
Well, and that's what one of our jobs is. So if we think of the three sort of the three people that are three groups that are really involved, the composer with an intent, and dead composers we can't talk to, we can't necessarily know what they were thinking, and then we as living conductors, we bring that to life, and so that music moves through us, and then through our filter, through our personalities and our tastes, into the students. Right, and they sort of interpret it, and through both the composer and conductor into their performance, and then the audience hears that. So that's why every ensemble sounds different from each other, from famous symphonies to or orchestras. Even if they do the same symphony, it sounds different from performance to performance, because there's so many factors, so many variables at play in each and every time it's played. Yeah.
Curran, thank you for joining me. Even more importantly, thank you for making sure music is at Truman. It's one of the cool things that makes us so special. And you always love when the academic year starts and everybody's playing outside and going to all the concerts and the shows. And our musicians are really special, cool, talented people. And so thanks for giving us all the opportunity to enjoy them.
Well, thank you, and thanks for all your support of what we do, and it means a lot. Thanks for having me here.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Tea Time with Sue. This episode is brought to you by the Statemen Marching Band. It never rains on the Statesmen. Join us for the next episode when Sue sits down with student Krishna Chibolu. Subscribe to the podcast to stay in the know for when new episodes are released. Do you know students, faculty, and staff at Truman who make it such a unique and special place? Guests for Tea Time with Sue can be nominated at truman.edu/teatime.